You know, Knuckles, oftentimes when people see you and I together on this channel, immediately they think something has gone horribly wrong. Statistically, it always has something to do with a child. But today is not the type of day. I would like for you, Knuckles, to understand that in this world there are complex beings that exist. Complex beings who really want to believe that they are the ones who will achieve nirvana for all of humanity. And those individuals never really know what they're doing. And all you got to do is watch them in real time to understand, yeah, they don't really know what they're doing. And there is no greater example than a white savior. And in a world where there are a lot of different definitions for words and their own meanings based on interpretation, I will tell you, Knuckles, what a white savior is to me. A pompous individual who desperately wants to proclaim from the rooftops, the mountaintops, the highest skyscrapers, and all for the world to hear that they are the ones who will be about change. Oftentimes, they embarrass themselves in ways one could truly not understand. And they come up with these not so great ideas on how to be about that change. And on this channel, we've discussed all the different ways, even to the point where you have white people thinking it's okay to hand their money to people just to be insulted by them based on the color of their skin. But what if there was the opportunity for you as a regular individual who never really wants to have negative conversations or doesn't really want to engage in differing opinions, and you decide you want to just get away from that? You don't want to be around that. I would argue that makes you a very normal individual, because who among you wants to always, all the time, talk about something that you might perceive as negative? There's nothing wrong with that. Unless you just so happen to be someone who wants to speak on behalf of all white allyship.
This might be a tough pill to swallow, but if you consider yourself to be an ally to marginalized groups or marginalized people, but you yourself have cut off your family or your social circles because of their oppressive beliefs of marginalized people, you are quite literally not working as an ally. If you don't want to be in those rooms, if you don't want to have those tough conversations, then you don't get to consider yourself to be an ally.
Madam, you are a fucking dumbass. If someone doesn't want to be around something, they don't have to be. They don't need to have the introspective conversation to figure out all the oppressive nature that is going on in this household. If they want to be about the change, sure, they could have like that starter conversation. But if they're recognizing that they're talking to somebody whose opinion is not going to change in any capacity, it is perfectly okay to say, you know what? Cool, we're not really going to talk about this anymore. I'm not going to bring this up around you because it's clear you're not really going to engage in this conversation in any manner that would actually be about anything significant. You have your way of life and I have mine. Everybody disperse and everybody just go about their merry life. That's what normal people do. But because you are not normal, you want everything to be a life lesson. You want everyone to be re-educated. When in reality, here's the sycophantical part. And I'm saying this for everybody. You can't get everyone to change their mind. You can't get people to see your way of life and agree to your way of life. There are people who disagree with things I say on this channel. Case in point, ketchup belongs in the pantry. Go in the comments section. Watch how many of these motherfuckers argue with me. Watch how many of them try to discredit my line of work because I said something that is true. But back to the main part of this. You can't have people always wanting to be in lockstep with you. Some people like things. Some people kind of like things. Some people hate things. And that's just the end of the fucking story. But for you to sit there and try to be the gut guard of all allyship, no. You're wasting your own time. You're wasting your own efforts. You could be paying money to get cursed out by a black woman and an Indonesian lady about how you're always going to be the problem. But instead, you want to try to get everybody into an argument because your life is so fucking boring. Your life has no entertainment in it. And you would like to sit at Thanksgiving sipping on your margarita while you see a bunch of people yelling at each other over some fucking politics that shouldn't even be brought up because we should just be watching the Dallas Cowboys lose a fucking football game. But no, you have people who are desperate to just seek attention the worst ways possible. You have people desperate to try to get everybody to agree when that's not how the world works. And if you reach a point where you're talking to somebody and you're trying to get them to see your point of view and it's not working out, you know the smartest thing to do? Just back up. Just leave it in the dust. That's all you gotta do. That's all you ever gotta do. But because people want to think that their voice matters more than it actually does, you have people like that who want to try to speak truth to power. And here's the thing, random white ally watching this, if you want to be about change, 10 times out of 10, let's be real here, it's more like 7 times out of 10, you're gonna have to be about that change alone. You can find people who agree along your journey, but when you start, you're probably going to be starting alone. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just recognize that the world is not your oyster. The world is a dumpster fire, and we're all just adding oil into this motherfucker. And to you, random white savior who fought tooth and nail to try their hardest to sound like the smartest in the room, here's a woman of color to debunk you and every fucking thing you hold dear.
What is white saviorism? White saviorism is a term that's used to describe white people who consider themselves wonderful helpers to Black, Indigenous, and people of color, but they help for the wrong reasons and sometimes end up doing more hurt than help. Keep in mind that it doesn't refer to all white people. White saviorism, sometimes called white savior syndrome, white savior complex, refers to those who work from the assumption that they know what's best for the BIPOC community. They believe it's their responsibility to support and uplift communities of color because people of color lack the resources, willpower, and even intelligence to do so themselves. In short, white saviors consider themselves superior, whether they realize it or not. They swoop in to make a difference without stopping to consider whether that difference might not, in fact, have more negative effects than positive ones. What is a superiority complex? Well, it's a behavior that suggests a person believes they're somehow superior to others. People with this complex often have exaggerated opinions of themselves. They may believe their abilities, morals, and achievements surpass those of others. When you choose to have a conversation and you make claim that a particular approach to allyship is incorrect and that the approach that you're taking is the correct one, that in of itself is establishing a superiority complex. You believe that your approach to allyship is superior. Oftentimes, white savior complexes and white saviorism goes hand in hand with superiority complex, whether people recognize it or not. Because at the end of the day, intent versus impact doesn't really matter. All that matters is the impact. Another indication of a superiority complex is the fact that you are arrogant enough to believe that you are more intelligent. You are more persuasive. You are better at holding dialogue and having rigorous debate with these individuals who have deeply rooted, hate-filled beliefs that are oftentimes a result of deeply rooted ideological beliefs such as politics or religion. To think that you can reach them, to think that you are smart enough and better to be able to reach them and break this mentality, which is very seldom and very rare to happen. Again, another indication of a superiority complex. And the white saviorism comes through when the person who's making this video, the voice piece for this video, is the ally, right? Because in today's current political climate, and historically speaking, the most oppressed and marginalized groups of people to exist in the United States of America are BIPOC people. So when you have a white individual coming and making claims as to what is the appropriate way to be an ally and the not appropriate way to be an ally, they are showing that they think they know more than the people of color and the BIPOC individuals who have these conversations about allyship. Rather than amplifying our voices, they oftentimes want to be our voices. I personally, and I know many people of color can agree with this, I feel more safe and more comfortable and feel like I could trust a white person who has cut off family members because of how hate-filled their family members are, rather than the person who's making this claim, saying, I can be the middle ground. Why is that? Because Martin Luther King and Eli Wiesel both said the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. You know it's wrong. You know their beliefs are wrong, yet you choose to tolerate it and be indifferent to it, and you're doing it under the plight that you can save them. The white saviorism runs deep because it doesn't just run with BIPOC people. Sometimes it runs within their own communities, thinking that you can be the savior of other white people. It has to do with the superiority complex. It has to do with arrogance. It's all wrapped in a bow. That's why it's important to have nuanced conversations. That's why it's important to have complex conversations, not just a simple, this is a proper ally, that's not a proper ally, I think I'm right, you're wrong. There was no nuance in this conversation. It was simply someone preaching and talking down to everybody else who has chosen to cut off their family members in this current political climate. I'm going to say something that's been said a million times on this app. It's not a matter of politics. It's a matter of morality. It's a matter of ethics and values. And if you choose to align and be in close contact and close proximity with individuals who hold very detrimental values for society, who hold very hate-filled morals and beliefs and ideological systems, You are being that indifferent person. You are being the opposite of love. However, a superiority complex may actually be hiding low self-esteem or a sense of inferiority. Do you feel inferior to all the other white people in your life who have chosen to cut out family members because of their hate-filled beliefs and the fact that you haven't? Do you feel less than? Do you feel less than of an ally because you've chosen to maintain relationships with them? I'm not here to tell anybody whether they should or should not maintain relationship with family members who have particular ideological beliefs. Unlike the particular person that I'm stitching, the one who made this video, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody what they should or should not do in their personal lives or what boundaries they should implement. Some people are comfortable, some people are not. But what I will say is you are not superior to those who have chosen to cut off their own family members. And I, as a woman of color, as the marginalized that you pretend to care about, I feel far more comfortable with white people who do choose to cut off their families for the sake of not wanting to be anywhere near hate-filled, horrible beliefs, because those hate-filled, horrible beliefs end up becoming actions. And people who could be tolerable of that, people who are finicky, people who are wish-washy and in the middle, I personally cannot trust. I just hope that whatever white people have seen that video and are seeing this can understand that you are not inferior in your allyship because you've chosen to cut people off. In fact, I think a lot of BIPOC people would choose to be more comfortable with you than her.
Subscribe to the channel where we don't like white saviors around these parts. Why? Because we all are a little bit normal and we could disagree, we could go on our merry way. Knuckles, I hope I'm preparing you for the future at large because I'm going to need you to use every fiber of your being to beat the fuck out of Tails because I hate Tails. Mwah! Subscribe. Goodbye.